Good everything.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Gonna start a little bit early today. Our interview is actually at 12 my time in about 15 minutes. But, I like to get on here a little bit early. I set it about 30 minutes before things are actually supposed to begin, just so that we can kind of shoot the shit, especially now that I'm not doing as many live streams. So you gonna go play some ball, Jim Scott? Nice, man. God, it's been a while since I played sports, man, to be honest with you. Yeah, so we're starting about 50 minutes. Let everyone kind of come on in here, shoot the shit. We'll talk about the deep knowledge or questions that you guys have that maybe I can help with. Share a little bit, as Ty would say, the knowledge. Welcome, Clayton. Welcome, man. Thank you for tuning in. Got the essential oil diffuser going. Sadly, we are out of lavender. Alan, welcome. What is new in everybody's life? For me, I'm getting my orthodontist scheduled this week. For those of you know, my teeth are a little bit crooked. I used to have braces, and my teeth just got more crooked as time went by. So that's like something I've been waiting for. April got a job, so now I can get started on that. And once I get started on that, I'll dive into, I'm probably going back to get a bachelor's in web development as well. I'm looking into it. You're starting to love jQuery, J-Do Bud. Good, man. jQuery is really fun as kind of, I would take it's probably your first sort of library that you're going to be using or framework. And I believe jQuery is technically a library. So my advice, J-Do Bud, is get comfortable with jQuery, and once you are comfortable, dive into Angular or React. Only because if you're looking to get a job in web development, it's not going to be because of jQuery. It will be because of being comfortable with Angular and React, though. But jQuery is great as kind of an introductory, let's learn something a little bit new and outside the box. Got to have that knowledge. I have a nice casual video coming out tomorrow, by the way, of April and I. It's really just me, but she's interjecting, of me reviewing the NES Classic. So if you guys are interested in that, want to see it firsthand, that's coming out tomorrow. Something a little bit different, but fun all the same. Hey, Gravy Cakes, welcome. So let me go ahead and get this link here. Gravy Cakes, I like that name. The NES Classic. Did I stop doing the daily live streams? Yes. Unfortunately, it wasn't accomplishing what I want, but they may be back in a different fashion. I'm revamping my Patreon page to be something entirely different. So I reworked a little bit of it, but there's a lot more stuff coming to it soon. And once I'm waiting on some companies that I'm working with, I'm partnering with, that are in beta for some things. I'm waiting for them to kind of kick their shit into gear. And once they do, in about 2 to 3 weeks, I'll be able to re-release my Patreon, and you'll get to see more about live streams. So it'll be a new sort of revamped live stream coming soon. Yeah, the fog, it's that, dude, I'm telling you, it's that essential oil diffuser. Gotta get one of these, man. I'm out of the scents that I like, but I got this lemon one. It'll get me by. It's not the best one. Am I still doing free code camp? Yeah. I haven't been too much lately, but I finished the front end probably about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. And so I'll be moving on to the back end eventually. I started it. I haven't really been working at it. I did a part 0 to the Wikipedia API for the Wikipedia project because a lot of people were asking for that video. This weekend I'll be working on the I've been getting people, it's the only project I don't have up is the Simon game. So I'll be putting that up. I did finish it. It was a hard one. It wasn't necessarily a hard one. There's just a lot to do with the timing library if you're not comfortable with that. But yeah, so that will be going up, and then everything's up other than about 3 algorithms for advanced algorithms. that I haven't solved yet in the front end. But yeah, I've been doing the back end a little bit. You'll be seeing the back end, and eventually the React will go up as well. I actually have one of the React projects done for Free Code Camp, the first one, but I wasn't able to. I gave up on that learning path because at that time I wasn't sure if I was going to be doing Angular or React. But once I get hired full time as a web engineer, I ended up working with Angular at my work, and so I had to put React on hold. Let's see here. Second. So our guest is pretty interesting guy that we're going to be talking to in about 45 minutes here. I was in school for computer science. I haven't graduated yet. Would you say Free Code Camp alone is enough to learn the full ins and outs of web development? I think it is. Even though I was a computer science student and I haven't graduated yet, and I'm changing my major to web development, so I think, I don't know. I'm still deciding these things. I'll know within the next week or two. But one second, guys. I gotta turn the AC on. I'm burning up in here. What I say free code camp? Sorry about that, guys. What I say free code camp? Turning down the AC. It needs to. Dude, it's 76 in here, man. Hey, for those of you who don't know, man. Welcome, Jonathan. Hey, you guys may not recognize me. Next paycheck, I am treating myself to a brand new pair of glasses. $100, frames and lenses through Warby Parker. I need a new pair. This one actually has 2 little chips in it. That's really been bugging me. Minus 10. Holy shit. Yeah, man. I live in Florida, and it is like I don't know if you guys can see, but I got shorts on over here, and usually I'm walking around in sandals and t-shirts and stuff like that because it's so great. Stephen MJ, do I plan to do a meetup in Europe? Well, man, coincidentally, if you happen to be in Belgium in like 2 months, Engineer Truth and myself will actually be in Belgium. So we are going to Brussels, and we're traveling around a bit in March. Yeah, in March. So we'll be in Matt and I, Engineer Truth, as you guys may know his channel, much larger channel than I. We're old friends and whatnot, but we're going to Belgium, and we're gonna go. He's actually gonna be in Europe for 2 months, I want to say, and I'll be there for about 4 days. And so we're gonna do a little bit of traveling and hanging out and whatnot. But if you happen to be in Belgium or and you want to kick it, yeah. Why do people look down on W3 schools? I think it's just kind of I don't. I just think it's kind of a hipster thing, right? Like that's what I think is that it gives you what you need to know, right? It's basically the cut and dry version, and sometimes people don't like that. And there's this kind of old school mentality of, if it's harder, it's better, or if there's more information, it's better. And but I feel like we're in a world now where you really need to absorb as much as you can because you're learning every day. And W3 Schools really fits that. I'm a big supporter of W3 Schools. I really like it. Do I do online college? That's exactly what I'm looking at right now. I'm talking with a couple colleges, getting costs, seeing what units transfer over. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it online. Also, a lot of these online colleges just have a flat tuition rate. It doesn't matter if you're in-state or out-of-state. If I wanted to pay in-state Florida tuition, if it's like California, I have to wait a year being here, even though I've been living here for 3 months. So That's what I'm gonna do. You guys may see a lot more live streams where I'm like, hey, somebody help me with this shit. When I get going here. So yeah, Jonathan, there's nothing wrong with that. 20 years old to pursue a career first and maybe go to college later in life. That's kind of what I'm doing, man. I'm just a little bit older than you, and so there we go. And that's kind of what I try to stress with a lot of people is that there is a path for everybody. Like I'm 29, right? I just turned 29 in October, and which I guess wasn't just around the corner, but a lot of people don't realize that I didn't start coding until about 3-4 years ago, and if you look at what I was working as, like if you go on my LinkedIn, I have the last 3 jobs. Is my current one as a web engineer. The one before that is technology trainer at a software company. One before that is an internship / freelancing. But that's about maybe the last 1.5 to 2 years. Before that, it's like pizza delivery driver, vineyard installer, pizza delivery driver, all these sort of jobs that have nothing to do with web development. And you can do anything, man. Like, granted, is everyone going to be able to succeed being self-taught? No. Is everyone going to be able to succeed going to a boot camp? No. But is everyone going to be able to succeed going to a traditional college for computer science? No. So my thing is not that college is bad, not that boot camps are bad, not that even being self-taught is bad, is that there's different routes that get you to the same destination, and you really have to find what works for you and not do what people tell you should do. That's my message if I had to give one. Jado Bud. So this is actually going to be a video that I'll be making soon. Jado Bud says, apart from you don't know JS, free code camp, solo learn, what learning platforms do you like best? Well, I personally like free code camp the best, as you guys probably know. But one site that I've started to like that I haven't really dived too much into, in all honesty, but I like the premise of it, is HackerRank. Now, I like HackerRank. It's algorithms. You choose what it is that you want to study, and you do it. I like it because you can copy that code, put it on your GitHub, and you get badges and things like that. But also, they implemented something new where you can now do HackerRank challenges, and that if you succeed, if you're looking for work, your application or your profile will go directly to an employer who may or may not contact you. Alex says, hi, Dylan. I love your tutorials. I have a question. As a beginner, should I learn Angular, JS, or React JS? I would say Angular. I might be a little bit biased because I am an Angular developer, but even before I was an Angular developer, when I was learning Angular and React simultaneously, I'm talking about Angular 1, by the way, not Angular 2. I think that you get I think it's a little bit easier to understand. I think there's more documentation. I think it's more beginner friendly. Now, does it matter which one you learn? There's probably the market for React is growing very rapidly. React is really popular, and so is Angular. But so either one's good to learn. But if you can learn both, man. Now you'll when you start getting into advanced applications, you'll actually have React, because React is nothing but a view, right? So Angular is the whole MVC, the model view controller. For those of you who don't understand what that means, you're not really too familiar with it. When you're talking about a full web paradigm, you have the model, which is kind of like your data. You have the view, which is how it's supposed to look, and then you have the controller that communicates. Basically the model is the data that you're going to send or receive. The controller is what controls what goes into the view data-wise and functionality-wise, and the view displays it. And React.js is just a view. So you can actually do the model view. You can do the model and the controller in Angular and the view in React. And that's when you start getting into these more complicated web applications, but it's something that actually happens quite often. Yeah, there's definitely a bit of not a bit. It's completely true what Jonathan Torres is saying about how people look down on you when you skip college, or you can only succeed if you go to college. There's definitely that mindset. Um, it's the same thing with anything that takes. We live in such a world now that if there's any risk involved, it's just a bad decision. Like, you always have to go the safest route. And I understand where that's coming from, because a lot of times it's your parents who are just like, they just want you to do the safest thing because that's what they did. Whether it be college, or whether it be a YouTube channel, whatever it may be, like, you're trying to go on it. But sometimes you just have to realize that there are other alternatives, and sometimes I'm probably a pretty good example of this. Is I was a computer science student. I have about a year and a half left on my degree if I was to continue, but I just felt like I needed to start working. I needed the money. I needed some experience. I couldn't go to school anymore at that time. I was just sick of being so broke all the time for so long. Just bringing in no money, not being able to buy. And I've said this before on my live streams, where not the deciding factor, but I think the straw that broke the camel's back was I was at a Costco and I couldn't afford to buy, I believe it was socks. I couldn't afford to buy socks because the last of my money was going to food. And I was just like, you know what? Fuck this. I know I can get a job. So I started applying. I got a job for, $22 an hour with benefits as a technology trainer, not doing development like I wanted, but I got a job at a software company. I told myself that I was going to start my YouTube channel. I'd been doing my YouTube channel about 3 months, but I was like, look, I'm going to take my YouTube channel. I'm going to help it to get me a web developer job. It's going to be kind of a marketing, cross-promotion, video portfolio, all while I'm working at this software company, getting somewhat relevant experience, and maybe I'll work myself into a developer role. And then from there, I'll jump to a developer role, and I'll try to freelance along the way. I did very little to none of that, but of the freelancing. But that was the whole plan. And then here I am, a year later, 9 months after I executed that plan. And let me tell you, man, there's nothing worse than going to someone who's been paying for your school, because I wasn't paying out of pocket. My father was paying for it, and, FAFSAs and things like that, and be like, oh, by the way, I'm dropping out. I'm going to go back. Because no one believes you when you say that, right? No one's like, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm stopping to start a job, and then I'm going to jump into a developer job. And they're like, yeah, sure you are, buddy. So no one believes you about that. And then, I did exactly what I said I was going to do. Here I am now working full-time as a developer. And the only reason I haven't signed up for courses yet is I was waiting for my girlfriend, who I've been paying all our bills, to get a job, and she starts on Tuesday. She got hired on Thursday. She starts this Tuesday, and I'm emailing colleges back and forth so I can go and jump back into finishing up my degree. And so my point is that there's a different path for everybody. What do your parents think about your new job? I think they think that I'm doing pretty well, man. I have my parents are really happy with my new job. I get paid pretty well. I have fully paid benefits. I don't pay state tax, so cost of living is cheaper here. It's my first year being a full-time developer. And then, which I think breaks down to about $33 an hour, $32 an hour, something like that, if you were to do it hourly. And then I make about $5,000 to $8,000. I'll make about $5,000 to $8,000 this year from YouTube, if I keep growing at the rate I'm growing. So that's how much I make. So they're happy for me. I get full benefits. I'm, at 1 year at my job, they do some tuition reimbursement, so I may get some money back there. Did I do a coding challenge to get into my developer job? No, I did not. What I did was I had I had 2 phone calls, and that was it. The reason I didn't really have a coding challenge was, 1, they were trying to get somebody in there pretty quick. And 2, I was in the unique circumstance where all my coding was in a video format. So the people who ended up making the decision to move my application forward, I had a phone call, discussed. We talked about two main things. We talked about the projects that I've worked on that was on my resume. I had all these single page applications that I talked about. And we also talked about the hackathon project that I put on there as well. I went into what APIs I use, what libraries, what languages, what frameworks, all that sort of junk. And then he liked it. He moved my forward. And this is actually the developer I work with directly, another junior developer. And he liked it. He moved it up to one of the developers who was working on another project, and they watched a couple of my videos of me working through some projects. I don't know exactly which ones, but it was good enough that between that, watching my videos, and my website, I had built an Angular JS. I'm always telling people build projects in these languages, just don't do these tutorials. On my website, codingtutorials360.com, you can check it out if you want. It's a simple Angular data binding with some API calls, and that was enough to get my foot in the door. Granted, I worked my ass off to get to that point, but that for me was the interview process. Now, I've had other interview processes that were going on simultaneously, which were significantly more code heavy, and that's not too uncommon as well. I've also seen interviews done at my old work where we have about 20 developers, and they were interview new people for QA or for front end, whatever it would be. And if you're a junior dev, they definitely just have you start, hey, reverse a string, do this real quick, do that real quick. Let's see what you can do. And so they'll give you some basic algorithm questions, and you'd be surprised how often these guys fail under the pressure. Yeah, man. I think that was when I felt like I was pretty qualified to start applying. Start applying as a junior developer elsewhere was when I could see the applicants coming in, and I thought I was better. I think that was really when I might have got a confident boost. Is I saw a couple of guys come in that just not only were they not professional. Like one guy, I kid you not, guys, I'm not bullshitting. This is why it's 50% being a developer and 50% being professional, right? Where one guy came in with a hat on to his interview and a chain wallet. And you're not going to get hired, guys. You have to dress the part for the interview at the very least. You always want to be dressed nicer than the environment, right? So right now I got a Settlers of Catan cat t-shirt on, not interview appropriate. Okay, so don't do that. Let's see. What's your role as a web developer in your current job? I do a lot of front-end development in Angular JS. I also am helping, wireframes, talking with the client. We're a relatively small team, so we're working with about 4 to 5 people, maybe 6 on a good day. And so I work at a company that doesn't have a software background, and they just started building out a software department as kind of the future of the company to go along with their other service-based services, I guess. And so you do a little bit of everything when you're on a small team, right? You might be creating some tables in MySQL. You might be making some endpoints in PHP. You might be doing but primarily the bulk of my stuff is Angular web development, and also just taking cues from the developer. It depends, right? So on Fridays, my days are a little bit different. I go in, I do some bug fixes, I do some feature requests. You'll have tickets that are in Bugzilla or Jira or whatever ticket system you're using. God, I have this massive headache. One second, guys. I gotta get some Tylenol. Hey, baby. Yeah. One second. So I asked my girlfriend for some Tylenol and she gives me 2 different pills. I don't think that's how it's supposed to work. Let's see. Have you learned anything that you hadn't fixed before? We can get personal. You guys want to know when I lost my virginity? I was 18 and a senior in high school. That was when I lost my virginity. There you go. You guys all know, man. Take the red pill, right? -1 from Bosnia. You don't like Bosnia? What's wrong with Bosnia, man? Take the red pill. Hey, man. Hey, Neo, if Neo was a G, he would have taken both pills. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. I remember being like a senior in high school and feeling really shitty that I hadn't lost my virginity yet. I still remember that. I don't know, like maybe just everyone was very sexually active at my school, at my high school, and they probably were because most of them lost their virginity somewhere around freshman. Some even in middle school and things like that. So, I don't know. What are you gonna do? Hey, if you guys think I'm awkward now, I promise you I was just as awkward then, if not more. Yeah, man. How old am I? I'm 29. And 29, baby. Yeah, so yeah, man, I don't mind answering personal questions as long as it doesn't involve anyone else. Like if you don't want to know, if you want to know who, put that bitch on blast. No. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. If Neo wanted to trip balls, he'd be like, "Hey, hook it up with both the pills. Let's see what's going on." You know what I mean? Gus, so this is I'm still doing the live streams before our interviews, right? So today we're doing an interview with a project manager at a virtual reality company. He also is a student in Block, so I'm going to ask him about that. So that's what today's live stream is about. He's going to be here in about 20 minutes. In the meantime, we're going to shoot the shit, kind of have a little bit of fun like we always do before the live streams. I'm also revamping the live stream format and the Patreon. More news about that and great resources. I got actually brand new content coming to you soon that you guys are going to really like. One of the things is I got reached out by a company that's in their beta where they're a web development video recording where you can pause the video and the code you can now change. You can touch the code. Like, you know how I'm talking, I'm doing a video, I'm doing my screen share or whatnot, but you're looking at just the video. This is completely different where the code is actually there. And it's going to be a Patreon perk that I'm going to work on. And so you pause the video, the code's there, you can edit it, all the files, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, whatever it is. And that's I'm waiting on that to kind of get together. And then I'll do 35 is not too old, man. You just got to dive into it. See what you can do, man. You might have if you're really if you're kind of looking for advice on how to get started, I would say at 35, don't waste your time. Jump straight into a boot campus and do free code campus prep for it. Just because at 35, I know I feel pressure of like I started my career too late at 29, or 28 if you count my last job, or 27 if you count the internship, right? So I know I felt pressure about that, kind of messing around and not taking school as seriously as I should. So I would imagine at 35 that might be a little bit even greater. Not that you should feel that way, but I definitely understand that there is that pressure. But I mean, look at my boss. So my boss is a senior developer. He's about 40, and up until about 7 years ago, he had never touched computer science. He was working at a car dealership. Went back to school for computer science. Now he's a senior developer making stupid money, I'm sure. Hey, are you gonna do Learn Angular by doing videos more? I love those videos. I couldn't find a good video until I found your channel. Yes and no. I'm thinking about making it into a Udemy course and giving it away for free for anybody who asks in the channel, and just charging like $9.99 a month. We'll see, or giving away as a Patreon perk. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, there are more videos coming soon. Yeah, man. Hey, Rav404. But yeah, man. So it doesn't really matter what age. I had somebody the other day saying, "Look, I'm 6." It was a Matt and I were doing a interview, and a guy said he's like, "I'm 68 years old or 65 years old, and you guys are inspiring me to learn software. Thank you." So don't ever think you're the oldest guy learning or the youngest. It's really on the individual, and I think that's what you're seeing a lot is. And that's why you have to really present yourself in a good way as well, right? So it's not all about your skill. It's about your skill, and it's just equally as important as about you. Can you get along with the team? Are you the type that likes to learn, or are you just going to pigeonhole yourself? You're like, look, man, I only do this, but you want me to do this and this? They're not going to hire you. So just my advice is just work hard, get as much experience as you can, start getting internships on your resume. I have a video coming out about how I got my first internship, and you can too. Is the clickbait title, but it's true. So I talked about how I got my first internship and the way that I found it and how I was applying and things like that. That'll come out probably Sunday or sometime next week. So I'm gonna have more videos like that coming out. Grab some ice for this real quick. Was that a paid internship? Yes, it was. How long did it take you to learn Angular 1? That's an interesting thing because I'm still learning things about Angular 1, right? But how long did it take me to make a website in Angular 1? About a week. So I watched about 4 hours worth of videos on, maybe not 4 hours, but like 3. But I watched 4 videos from Derek Bonna's channel where he teaches you about Angular 1. And from that, I was able to get going and create my own website. If you guys want to see what the very first thing I ever created in Angular was, go to codingtutorials360.com, and that's it. Yeah, I had a paid internship at a web design company where I was making $12 an hour, and it was an hour and 50 minutes away each way. So hey, if you guys ever think like, oh man, this guy doesn't understand the grind, no, I promise you, I completely understand the grind. So $12 an hour. I had to get up at about 4 a.m. for about the 3 months I was there. And then I would drive hour and 50 minutes back. It was miserable, but I wanted the experience, and it did a lot for me. It allowed me to start freelancing. I got hired as a freelancer for a couple months through them. But yeah, it was great. It's that's the type of commitment you need to have sometimes when you're trying to get that resume experience. Let's see here. Yeah. Internships not being paid are a little sketchy in my opinion because it's so cheap to pay someone minimum wage. Like even if it's minimum wage, it's you can, how do you put it? Even if it's minimum wage, it's the experience that's more valuable, and thus you shouldn't worry about the money. Like I would tell everybody, take an internship at the company you want to work at, even if the money is worse, or if you just want the experience. But if like you have 2 offers, take the one you want to work at versus the one that you don't. my thing was was that I was a web design intern and not necessarily a web development intern, and there's a massive difference. But at that time, I wasn't too educated about that, right? I just thought an internship was an internship, and it helped me either way. But I would much prefer web development. Oh man! So in about 10 minutes here, we'll get started with our guest Michael Mullen, who pretty excited to talk to you guys with. Michael and I actually we met at a hackathon through a mutual friend who brought him. So we went to a Angel Hack hackathon. One of the reasons I got hired, by the way, I stress the hackathon things. Do hackathons, guys. It looks great. You have a project. It shows you can work with a team. And if you win, even better. I didn't win, but it looked great on the resume, right? Jado Bud, how would you advise going about the beginner algorithms of Free Code Camp to really understand what's going on? Well, I'd advise you looking at all the documentation. Free Code Camp gives you some documentation links, and they're not always the best, but they're not the worst. So look at the documentation, fully understand it. And if you see in the corner over here, I actually have two whiteboards. I have one up on the wall. Right now it has like bills and shit like that on it. But I have one down below as well. And the reason for that is you really need to be able to visualize this out. You need to be able to draw it out. So let's see if I can do something real quick. I shouldn't think if I let's give you an example, right? All right, boys. So here we have a whiteboard. We're going to give an example, a simple one, of how to multiply two numbers, right? And like how I would solve that if I didn't know that. The first thing I would do is think, okay, what does that mean? Well, it means that we want to do something like 5 times 5, and then that equals 25. So I would write something like this out, right? This might be a little weird because I think it's going to be backwards for you guys. So now, this may not make a lot of sense, but I'll know that, like, okay, we'll have an example here, and then we'll have our code here. But to do that, I need a function, right? So I have to know that, right? I have to know what a function is, and I got to do something with it. Now, we said that we wanted two numbers, so that means two parameters. If we're going to have something in there, otherwise we don't know what it is. So we start thinking maybe we need like just call it A and a B, right? And then we already know what the option is. We have our asterisk. Okay, cool. So we're going to need the times somewhere. So we got to bring that over. You do something like that, times. And then what numbers? A and then B. And then we're like, oh, well, how do we get that back? We need to get the equals. Well, what does that mean? In equals is basically a return statement. So you just start drawing this out, right? And so before you know it, you're done. Now, this is a simple one, right? Where you're just drawing it out. But just drawing it out and breaking it down piece by piece like this, and that's really what you have to do, man. You have to go, okay, what's step 1? What's step 2? What's step 3? What's step 4? If you don't know what the steps are, you go, okay, well, what do I know that I need? I know I need 1, a function. So you start breaking it down. 2, what do I need? 2 numbers. And maybe you don't even know what to call them, parameters, whatever. 2 numbers. Okay, I need them to multiply. And then I need it to return. And then you start cracking away at each one of these, and you go check, 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 check. And then you realize, oh, well, this has to go here, or this has to go there. That's how I would advise you, is get yourself a whiteboard and start drawing it out, man, piece by piece. What do I do with the top to this? So I don't know if that really makes, but visualize it, draw it out, solve it, and try to understand why. So it's really the thing that I tell people because a lot of you guys, when you're just starting out, and I'm guilty of this as well. It's been a while for me, but a lot of people, the problem that they have is they get that blank whiteboard, or they get that blank text editor, and then I say, okay, build a calculator, and you're like, oh shit, I don't know, this is empty, there's nothing here. And so what you really need to do is you need to think about how to break it down by parts. So the first part, and if you see my videos, this is how I always do the projects. Okay, well, because we're visual creatures, let's build out as much of the GUI as we can, right? So let's build out the calculator, let's build out the buttons, and let's go from there. Because once we can start kind of clicking through, it'll start clicking a little bit. So step 1, maybe build it out. Step 2, maybe a little bit of CSS to make it look decent. And step 3, jump into logic. And then now when you're in logic, start doing things piece by piece. Okay, well, what do I need for a calculator? I need to return a value. Okay, so I write that down. I need to return a value. I need something that does math operations. Okay, write that down. I need some way of getting those math operations. Okay, write that down. And then you start drawing. Okay, well, this can connect to this and that. You break it down piece by piece by piece. Like when building a website, maybe you start with the menu, maybe you start with the body, maybe you start with the footer, but you break it down piece by piece. You don't tackle it all at once, man. That's my advice about that. Just because I think a lot of people, they get a little overwhelmed, and that's really what it is, getting overwhelmed with the idea of building something so complex, when really all you need to do is build one feature at a time. So, and you may have to go back and change those features. So how far should you travel for a hackathon? It depends, man, as far as you want. Like, I almost drove to, I was going to one in Miami, which is about a 4-hour drive, but I was feeling pretty sick. So, I was feeling sick, so I didn't end up going. I didn't want to have to take a week off work to do a 48-hour hackathon. So as far as you're comfortable going, I was going to drive 4 hours each way. So that's probably the max for me. But yeah, it just depends, man. There's not like a bad answer. Especially if you have someone to go with you. Maybe you'll drive a little bit farther. You can split it up. It depends on the hackathon too, right? For 6+ hours, you may want to book a little flight in and out. Save yourself some drive time because you're going to be pretty exhausted from it. That's why I think 4 hours is kind of probably the max, because it is draining. For those of you who don't know, if you really want to be drained, I don't know if I've ever, other than when I was doing some real physical labor, been as tired as when I went to a hackathon, just because you're forcing yourself to code for 18 hours. Then you get like 6 hours of sleep, and then you're done. Yeah, but yeah, I've been trying to find some hackathons. The problem is a lot of them are for students out here. So I don't really want to go to a well, I can't, because they're just for students. There's not a lot of like hackathons for working developers. At least from what I've seen, it's mainly all for students. Ugh. I gotta get like a floor mat, man. Ugh. Feet are killing me from standing. Do you guys know any good like standing mats that don't get jacked up by your desk chair? That's the real problem, is I need a standing mat that's okay with the desk chair. So the card game the cats are playing is Settlers of Catan. You can't read it, but it says, "I've got yarn for tuna," is what it says on here. How is my portfolio when you got your job? I mean, my portfolio is essentially my website, the fact that I freelanced with a couple of companies, and my internship, and my YouTube channel. I got primarily hired because of my YouTube channel. Yeah, this shirt was a Christmas present from April. Did you meet Elliot Hulse? You live in the same city. I don't even know who that is, man. So on my resume, so this may surprise you guys. I never actually got around to building the Angular part of my resume. Or of my portfolio. I have a website, but I never got around to building the portfolio section because I got a job too soon. Where are the web dev jobs in Florida? They're all in all the metropolitan areas, Tampa, Miami, probably. It's just the big cities. That's where it's at. Orlando is another good one. It's just like where all the other corporate jobs are at, right? They're all in the big cities. So they're all in areas that have downtowns and things like that. That's not always the case, but that's pretty much the rule. Yeah, man. Hey, the thing about web jobs and developer jobs is they're going to be everywhere pretty soon. Is Python a good coding language to start with for an old guy in his 40s? Johnny, I would say JavaScript's probably better. It really depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to be a web developer, rather, you want to start with JavaScript. Now, if you're trying to go maybe in data analytics, Python's good for that, or you want to do backend, Python's good for that as well. Yeah, Gus, I would say just apply, man. Hey, this is React or Angular 2? Probably React because there's more documentation. Special thanks to our sponsor, Dev Mountain. If you're interested in a coding bootcamp, why don't you check them out where they include housing alongside their tuition so you can get up, go, and immerse yourself in the environment. If you want to support me, go over to patreon.com/codingtutorials360 so we can put out more content. Thanks for watching.